Welcome back to this episode of the Shooting Bricks podcast. And guys, woo, wow, the NBA playoffs is has begun and it's just exploded onto our TV sets. I know we have a lot to get through, so let's just not beat around the bush. As always, I'm Jerry Castillo, and I'm joined by.
I'm Daniel Huynh. The Lakers. We had a ride last night, and joining me as well.
A ride, truly indeed. This playoff basketball has been amazing. I can't wait to discuss it on this episode. But you already know who it is. It's your boy, really real, Gerrel Sales.
And you know what? Let's just get right into it because we have a lot of things to talk about. The Lakers, Daniel, you say they gave you say it again, a ride? It was a ride?
A
What?
ride. It was the fourth quarter. It was what I call a butt clencher. Like I was holding on to my butt. If you know what I mean.
I don't think we do know what you mean, and I don't want you to explain that one. But let's just talk. Let's stay on the topic of the Lakers. All right.
Yeah, let's do that before before this basketball podcast turns into something completely different pertaining to balls. But anyways, so the Lakers after a rough game one, which you and I saw on Sunday, they lose 99-90, which it was an interesting battle, if you want to call it that, because the Lakers really fought, but it just seemed like they didn't have that. They were like, it's the first game, it's fine. We're the Lakers, will be fine. And obviously, in game two, that's exactly what happened because LeBron and AD showed up in the 109-102 win. Obviously, you have to look at the main players: LeBron, AD, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and CP3. But in game two, it was all the Lakers because all the damage was done by AD, LeBron, Andre Drummond, which is shocking, and Dennis Schroeder, which after a poor game one showing, this is what the Lakers need moving forward. And so really quickly, thoughts on this series so far? Because as we know, Chris Paul, something's wrong with him yet again. And I don't know if it's just the CP3 curse or what, because wasn't he on a cover of a video game of an NBA 2K or NBA Live at some point?
Not
2K.
live,
It was NBA
but 2K.
2K
Yes.
8. I want
Eight,
to say.
right?
Yep.
So the Madden curse is real, but only apparently for CP3 because every time he goes to the playoffs, something happens, and this time it's a bum shoulder. So thoughts on the series so far? Personally, I think this is a fantastic series. I'm hoping for a team to win. Everyone knows which team I'm hoping would win this series. But thoughts on the series so far?
Deeply encouraged so far as a Laker fan. Look, as far as game one goes, I was not surprised at all. G said it before in the previous podcast. The Lakers are a veteran team. They're more akin to slow starts. We saw it last year in the bubble. Game ones are usually a feel-out game for LeBron and the teams he leads. Game two is going to be, in my opinion, game two. What we saw last night, I think that was the defining game of the series. The Lakers had to respond, and boy, did they? Even though the Lakers had a terrible fourth quarter, the Lakers were much more aggressive on defense and offense. The Lakers were doing what the Lakers should be doing. Like for most games, they were forcing turnovers on the opposing opponent. AD was he played the hardest he can. That's what we definitely needed for him. LeBron James, I think he could have been more aggressive, but we got enough for him. The fact that Phoenix came back in the fourth quarter, and the fact that LeBron and Lakers held their composure and came back and took the win shows that it's going to be okay. I think Chris Paul's injury is going to be also series defining. I think his injury, the right shoulder contusion, is going to be what gives the Lakers the edge going forward in this series. I think Phoenix has been better than I thought. Look, I've shitted on them. I thought they were a false number two. They are indeed a talented team. Something needs to be done with DeAndre Ayton. Even though we have Anthony Davis, let's face it, he's been feasting on my Lakers in the paint. But I think the Lakers are going to win this series in 5 or 6 games. I say six. I could see Phoenix winning one more time, but I think the Lakers win in around five.
Fair enough. G.
A lot to unpack there for sure. But yeah, just what Jarrod said. It's rust. It's the passiveness that the Lakers have. I mentioned it in the previous episode that it's nothing to worry about. That first game, I know that Jarrod and I watched it on Sunday, and of course I'm gonna feel some type of way, but it's expected. We've noticed this last year. Lakers, like Daniel said, they start off slow. So as Lakers fans, don't get too down on them. I mean, Twitter, y'all go off on AD and KCP because when that happens, you see what happens, right? But yeah, I'm not too worried about LeBron right now. He's getting close towards the end of his career. As much as we don't want to talk about that, this is the time for players like Anthony Davis to be able to take over. Listen, bro, when LeBron is off the court, you have to initiate some type of offense, whether you're going to get buckets and get into the free throw line. You've seen he shot, 17 to 18 free throws last game. We need this to happen. Schroeder, you want to get paid big bucks, bro? You can't average 15 points in his playoffs. He got 24 last night. You got to do above and beyond your average to showcase why you deserve that contract. KCP's done it. And I understand he didn't take the shot last night when LeBron chewed him out. Take the shot. I need you to take the shot. He did other things, and that's why he was on the court. I had a conversation with my brother. Shout out to my brother when you're watching this episode. He was like, why didn't throw Ben McLemore out there just to shoot? Because KCP plays defense. And if you notice in the fourth quarter, 3 times KCP has touched a ball that was a loose ball and gave us an extra possession or gave us control of the possession. Little things like that was occurring not only with KCP, but Kyle Kuzma, is what we need from players. I understand we talk about stats, but there's other things that contribute to the overall victory or the overall energy that is displayed with the Lakers. So I don't know. I think this series is going to do a good job with us figuring out what is going to be our go-to lineup, because I've seen Frank Vogel throw out THT out there, Marc Gasol. He kind of still is trying to figure out his lineup. So we'll see for sure on this third game what they're going to roll with. I kind of like Marc Gasol out there, especially just throwing a big body, being able to stretch the floor for short spurts. But Drummond did a terrific job last game, and I think I need him to be a little bit more aware on the defensive end, because you can't keep leaving DeAndre Ayton open for wide open dunks, bro. DeAndre Ayton's only missed two shots, field goals this series, and all of his field goals have been dunks. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and go ahead, Daniel.
Sorry, I need to interject something here. I think this series, all in all, could be a great warm up for the Lakers, because remember, they're the 7th seed. This Phoenix could be the hardest opponent they'll ever face in this playoffs up until the finals. So whatever happens here is going to be a good warm up for what happens next. I think if it looks like the Lakers are going to indeed win this series, expect a much more explosive performance from the Lake Show in the second and Western Conference Finals.
Interesting. So, we're just gonna really quickly here. So I'm curious, do you guys think that maybe the bench needs a little bit of run or a little bit of work? Because last game they only had 13 points total. I mean, you mentioned how KCP was doing everything but scoring. So, you see the numbers here. Marc Gasol played 20 minutes, Kyle Kuzma played 20 minutes, Caruso played 19, and that's essentially the entire thing. So do you expect the starters to score 95% of the buckets, or do you want to see more scoring from them?
I personally want more scoring from the bench. I mean, it's okay to have those nights are going to happen, but we're in the playoffs now, so we're gonna it's fine if we can get away with it. Those nights happen, like I said before, but Kyle Kuzma and the bench, you got to contribute somehow. Every point matters. So yeah, if I'm Frank Vogel, I'm gonna let Gasol, Kuzma, they're gonna hear from me. That's not gonna fly.
Yeah, I'm expecting the bench to score a little bit more. I think what's really missing here is Trez. Trez was a staple with the bench scoring, can get you 10 points or more. It brought energy, and him not playing, Gasol is very passive. He wants to get others involved. He's not going to score more than 3 to 6 points because he's just going to shoot that flat-footed 3-point shot there. But it does. But I think how Frank Vogel does his lineups kind of allows us to get away with it. Dennis Schroeder plays without LeBron, AD and Dennis Schroeder, or what I'm saying. So it just gives opportunity for them to score more. I'm expecting Dennis Schroeder to average close to 18 to 20 points throughout the playoffs. That's what I'm expecting him to do. I think it has to be a collective effort. I'm not expecting Kuzma to go off for 20 points off the bench, but if he could get double digits, if you somehow can throw Ben McLemore in there for some spot up shooting, why not? Because THT is still young. So yeah. To answer your question, I kind of went on a tangent there, but to answer your question, yes, I would like to. I expect a collective effort from the bench to give us a little bit more punch, but I'm not expecting one person to do it.
Right. Which makes sense because basketball is a team game, and we're talking about the Lakers and how they're seemingly doing well. Well, let's talk about the other LA team, the Clippers, which
Ooh, the Strippers.
they are not playing well, and they're not playing like a team. So game one was pretty close. Okay, so game one was pretty close. Kawhi had the dunk of potentially the playoffs so far when he just detonated on Maxi Kleba.
Don't forget
Rest
the
in peace.
screens.
Yeah, the screams. It didn't really do much because they still lost 113-103. And Luka was fantastic. He had a triple double, 31, 10, and 11. But in game two, it was a lot closer than we would, I guess, than we would think. Because personally, I was thinking the Clippers would come out with like a chip on their shoulder, saying, you know what, we lost home court. We're gonna come out. We're gonna destroy the Mavericks. Turns out the Mavericks again did something and just took the Clippers right out of their team game because Luka, he played well yet again, 39, 7 and 7. And Kawhi played fantastic, 41, 6 and 4. But Dallas again pulled out the 127-121 win. At this point, you got to wonder what can the Clippers do? Down 0-2, they intentionally lost the last two games because they thought Dallas would be the easier matchup. And here they are facing an 0-2 deficit. And, like I said, teams playing as a team wins games. Only PG and Kawhi are carrying the team, but they're getting nothing else. Luke Kennard has played 0 minutes thus far. And in the last game, the rest of the starters combined for 14 total points. Now, Paul George, you gotta love his friggin' confidence because he says there's no level of concern down 0-2 heading to Dallas.
Mm.
Okay.
That's
So,
bullshit.
sure, yeah. Okay, thoughts, just thoughts. I don't know what to think about the series. This is one of those that's like, dude, really? You're down 0-2 and you're saying, oh, we're good. There's no level of concern. I think that's an issue. I really think that's an issue if there's no level of concern down 0-2.
Pandemic P.
Uh, this series is most likely 60 to 70% over for the Clippers. The season is practically done. Look, I think I think the main reason why the Clippers are in this situation and they were in this situation last year is mostly because of mentality. What can the Clippers do? Actually give a shit. Look at the press conference last night. Paul George said, "There's no need to worry." That's the problem. There's the the Clippers simply have a weak mentality. They're here because they're playing without any urgency. And I think the biggest problem is honestly, it's on Kawhi. Kawhi Leonard's the best player, but he's not an effective leader. Think about the situations where he was in San Antonio and Toronto. I'm going to be honest with you. He actually wasn't really, in my mind, the leader of those teams. Popovich and Tim Duncan were the leaders in San Antonio. And Kyle Lowry in Toronto, that was actually his team, not Kawhi. Kawhi was just the best player. Yeah, I mean, as far as going to the actual basketball goes, yes, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, yes, pandemic P. He's actually been playing okay. Kawhi Leonard obviously had a monster night, but this team chokes under pressure. In game one, they let Dallas go on an 18-5 run. And the game was pretty close last night until the third quarter when Dallas blew it open. This, and combined with their weak mentality, is why people like Luka take advantage of them. So, I mean, it's a series of choking under pressure, partly bad coaching. Luke Kennard played 0 minutes last night. That's on Ty Lue. And I don't think Rajon Rondo was utilized effectively either. So, and most importantly, it goes back to intangibles and leadership. Kawhi Leonard simply does not have the personality to lead a championship contending team. That's why this season they're practically done. It's Mavs in 5, but I would not be surprised if it's a sweep. The Clippers are an embarrassment.
You heard it here first. Get the brooms out for the strippers. Go ahead, Jarrod.
So going off of Daniel's point really quickly about how the Clippers mentality, they have this mentality of we're the best team in LA, so we don't necessarily have to. This isn't me saying it. This is the Clippers. This is just from a mentality standpoint, right? before you turn me a new one, G. But this is just like their kind of mindset, right? It's like, oh, we're the Clippers. We got Kawhi, we got PG, we got arguably two of the top 15 players in the league. Therefore, we're automatically good. I mean, it's a lot more than that. They have to. They're acting like they've won something, but they still have to earn it.
They got chemistry issues.
I mean, that's been 2 years now. We're talking
Yes,
about chemistry issues. But go ahead, G.
Luka Magic, Luka Magic, Luka Magic. Forget the
Luca.
LA strippers, man. Let's talk about Luka Magic because he's doing it. He's did it to him last year. He's doing it to him again. And he has Paul George at his mercy right now. I don't care if Paul George crossed over to KP. Did you see that 1-footer three that he made? Luka made? Oh my God.
He owns the.
You feel what I'm saying? Like he out there, it's playground for him. Like he is toying with the Clippers. This is a sweep. You heard it here first. Daniel said it. I'm saying it. I don't know about you, Jarrod, but I think the Mavericks got a chance to sweep the Clippers. Daniel hit the nail on the coffin. It's all a mentality. The Clippers do not have it. He made some great, excellent points that I just want to highlight. Kawhi Leonard is not a leader in that sense that we are expecting him to be. And there's nobody else he can lean on. You think that Paul George is a leader? You see what he's done. I mean, he had that playoff run where he got the dunk on Birdman. I think that was in 14, right?
Yeah.
2014 against the Heat. But other than that, what has he done? He's been pandemic P his whole career. I don't understand, bro. It's not much to say. Like, I just want to point out what Luka is doing. He's growing into his own. It's reminding me a little bit more of LeBron James when he was 22 years old, leading his team to the finals, 2007. But Luka's not doing that here, but he's going. They're going to beat the Clippers. The LA Strippers, the chemistry isn't there. Luke Kennard got a Luau Dane contract, and then you're not playing him, and he's still young.
64 million extension.
What is really going on? I don't know. The Clippers always been weird. Go listen to some old episodes. The construction of their team, their squad is weird. They always get Lakers rejects. I don't know what to say. It's just a whole bunch of the BS on the Clippers roster right now, and they're about to get swept. Say bye-bye to Kawhi.
You know what? I'm not going to play devil's advocate because I think the Mavs have this, but I will say it's not going to be a sweep. And for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that the Mavericks win the series in anywhere between 4 to 7 games.
Come on, bro. Listen,
no, it's not going to 7.
Did you see what Kawhi has done? Kawhi had 40 points last night.
Paul George had like 20 plus.
And they still lost, bro. Their best player. Like, what? Nah, bro. Nah.
I'm just saying it's gonna be anywhere between 4 and 7 games, but the Mavericks win the series. The Mavericks win the series
today.
Yeah, man, gotta put some energy into our lives because it's been a long week for all of us, but we love talking basketball, so here we are. But speaking of basketball, no one can deny that the Nuggets Blazers series is a lot better than we thought it would be because I personally thought that the Nuggets would just steamroll the Blazers, but they're not. They are not.
Murray?
Without Murray, with the way that MPJ was playing. I mean, that's what I thought, but then game 1 happened and I'm like, "Oh, snap." Because they got blown out in game 1, and then the Nuggets did the blowing in game 2 because they won 128-119. Okay, so we know that Jokic is going to be the MVP. There's no doubt about that, right? Give yourself, a round of applause if you called it. Pat yourself on the back. Do whatever you want because you're right. Giving you the prop. But he's averaging 36 points on 61.7% shooting per StatMuse. Like, we talked about it a lot, but the Nuggets go as Jokic goes, and if he's playing like this, I can see the Nuggets potentially making it to the Western Conference Finals just on the strength of Jokic alone. That dude is a magician with the basketball.
Interesting.
Lakers Nuggets Conference Finals, maybe. Who knows, right? I'm just saying. A rematch from last year? Was it a rematch?
Yeah.
It's going to be a rematch.
Yeah, because I mean, apart, no offense to the Jazz, and we won't get to talk to them today because they've only played 1 game. But shout out to Jordan Clarkson for winning 6th Man of the Year. But anyways, but yeah, I mean, there's no other team that I can see in the West competing with the Nuggets Lakers. I hate to say that. So it's probably just going to be a collision course, even as banged up as the Nuggets are. But go ahead, you guys, talk about the series, talk about what makes you feel happy, what's up, whatever's on your mind.
Personally, I can see the series going either way. I can see the series going into to 7 games. I feel first of all that these two teams, I don't know if G's gonna agree, but I feel like they're even on paper. Portland is no joke. They obviously have Damian Lillard. So I mean, a point guard. Let's be fair. If he wasn't playing in Portland, he'll be like hailed as a top three point guard like among the ranks of Steph. He is now, but if he was in a bigger market, it would be even bigger case. They can definitely shoot the ball. They got CJ. They got pieces like Norman Powell, Yusuf Nurkic. But the thing is, Nikola Jokic has been phenomenal scoring this series. He had 34 and 38 in games 1 and 2, respectively. Nikola Jokic has been a monster all season. I think the biggest factor who's going to determine who wins this series is what guys like CJ McCollum and Michael Porter Jr. Do. Michael Porter Jr., in my opinion, has been excellent in these first 2 games. And yes, CJ McCollum is a better player than Michael Porter Jr. at this moment, but I had this weird gut feeling that how good Nikola Jokic is, despite without he's carrying this team despite without Jamal Murray. If Jamal Murray was on this team right now, I think the Nuggets win this in 6, but because he's not, it's a little even. But Jokic is weathering a storm. Nuggets in 7. I think it's going to be a close one, but Nuggets wins this close series in 7. This is a true series where we're going to see happen right now.
Interesting.
Get Dame some help. That's what I have to say, because this is a phenomenal player. I don't care what team he's on. He's top 3 in my opinion. I pick Dame over Kyrie.
I agree.
I pick Dame over Kyrie. And it's just sad to say that these two teams are so evenly matched, and the only player that the Nuggets are missing is Zach Collins. And I understand
the Nuggets or the
Trailblazers. The only player that the Trailblazers are missing is Zach Collins. I understand that's a body, that's your 4, but comparably speaking, the Nuggets are missing Jamal Murray. That's the second option on this Nuggets team. Zach Collins is the 7th, 8th, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So to see that the Blazers are at basically full capacity, they have the veterans, they have Robert Covington, Carmelo, they have a solidified bench, they have a squad to go up against the banged up Nuggets, that their second best option is Michael Porter. And I mentioned this last week, is a step above Kyle Kuzma, in my opinion, as far as basketball IQ. You see what he did when they lost against the Trailblazers in the fourth quarter, just kept jacking up threes. Clank, clank, and it looks nice, but clank, 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 clank. Do something different, bro. Anyways, all that to say, this is going to be a great series. Unfortunately, Damian Lillard's team isn't good enough. Jokic, and I thought about this when I watched the game. Jokic is putting up these amazing numbers, top 3 seed, MVP. Damian Lillard puts up these amazing numbers, doesn't even get put in the MVP consideration, and his team isn't a top team. And I'm not putting that all onto him, but that's the difference there. Jokic is, and I think Damian Lillard is a superstar player as well, but I feel like Jokic is just having that much more of a better season and more of effect on his team overall, that the Nuggets are going to win this. I don't think it's going to be a 7-game series, because we've seen just in game 2 what happened. CJ McCollum is folding under pressure. After CJ McCollum, who can you rely on? Carmelo is a hit or miss. No offense. I love Carmelo. But other than that, who can you rely on? They got Norman Powell, and that's not what they needed, unfortunately. I don't see what difference he's making. He's not locking people down. Who does he need to lock down on the Nuggets? You can't guard Michael Porter because he has 5-6 inches over you. So, yeah. I don't know. I say Nuggets in 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree Nuggets in 6. But you can't fault, the Trailblazers for trying, right?
Yeah.
They tried to retool over the summer. Didn't necessarily work out because the injuries just piled on them throughout the entire season. They got Norman Powell, and that necessarily hasn't gone well. I mean, not to the expectations, because the dude was putting up buckets in Toronto, and then all of a sudden he goes here. It's like, it's not the same. And obviously there's some growing pains that come with being traded, but I just don't know what else the Blazers can do. I'd be really happy if the Blazers prove me wrong and win in 7. That's just me, because I like to see Dame succeed. But with the way that the roster is constructed, I just don't see what happens, because I don't see them with a particularly good path if they make it through through to the first round. Because after that, what happens? They play against who? The Lakers, maybe, or whoever
They'll get
wins.
bounced.
Whoever they,
It-
if they make it to the second round, they're still gonna lose. That's the main
Yeah.
point.
I
and
mean, I just feel like Joker has just puts Denver at the advantage here.
Yeah, go ahead.
and they the Nuggets are missing a lot of injuries now that I think about it. Will Barton and PJ Dozier. But what I noticed was last game when Damian Lillard went off in the second quarter, where he had what, at least like 6 threes, 7
I think
threes,
like 8 threes. Yeah.
8 threes, bro went off. And I was like, man, I love this. Like, I want to see this more often past the first, second round. But then what happened second half? They switched Aaron Gordon on him. And Aaron Gordon didn't lock him up, but Damian Lillard was not going off. And
Yeah.
because the Nuggets have constructed their team and went out and got stuff that they needed, I think that's what's the difference here. And to Daniel's point, Jamal Murray on this squad, man, undoubtedly Western Conference team, Western Conference Finals team. They would have their bid for sure. So because the Nuggets have constructed their roster and they're able to switch and adjust, and that just gives all the praise to the coaches as well, because that was a terrific switch that they did. Aaron Gordon did a good job, even though he's not scoring because Michael Porter Jr. is taking all the freaking shots, but at least he can play some defense.
Right. I mean, that's all you need, right? Proper adjustments, which we'll get to in a minute. But just a peek behind the curtain here, because we are recording on a Wednesday, there's only been one game played between the Jazz and the Grizzlies. So just really, really quick thoughts before we move on to the Eastern Conference thoughts on the Jazz Grizz series, because, there was that drama with Donovan Mitchell not playing game one. And there have been rumors where people were saying that, oh, the reason why they didn't play him was because they expected to win game one and they wanted to rest him. Well, it didn't happen because they lost 112, 109. So, thoughts on the series so far, very, very quickly, because we have not a lot of content to go off, but just really quickly, thoughts on Jazz and Grizz. I think this is a fantastic series, not the most interesting, in my opinion, but it is going to be a fascinating watch.
Honestly, though, it all depends on what happens with Donovan Mitchell. But I'm just gonna
He's
personally
playing in
say,
game
like,
two.
okay, well, there you go. I see this. I think Memphis has some good young pieces. John Morant is one of my favorite young players in the league. It's Trey Young is I prefer Trey Young over him, but that's a whole nother conversation. They have a lot of good pieces, young pieces, Dylan Brooks. But I just feel like this Utah Jazz team is significantly better.
Mhm.
Donovan Mitchell is one of the more underrated star players in this league. He's also one of the better shooters in this league. They got Rudy Gobert. Who's one of the better big men in this league and is a lockdown perennial defender. He's arguably a top 3 defender in this league. So, and they also have Quinn Snyder, who, in my personal estimation, is an underrated head coach. So I think, despite all the whole mess with Donovan Mitchell, I could see the Jazz winning this in 5 games. I just think that the Jazz are just a better squad here.
Fair enough. I agree. Maybe 5 or 6.
I'm surprised you didn't call them a fake number one seed here.
Mhm.
I have to
They,
agree
they
here
are.
too. I have to agree here too. I just think the Jazz have a better constructed squad from top player to bottom. I think it's going to be. You guys say it's not exciting. I think it's going to be exciting because of Ja Morant, because of the young people, young players on the Memphis Grizzlies. They finally got Jaren Jackson back. We haven't seen him play since his rookie year. So I think that confidence that they got in this first game is going to equate to some interesting basketball. I think they could sneak another game in, and I think the Jazz are going to win in 6. But because of a lot of stuff that we're not seeing that's happening in the back within this organization with Donovan Mitchell in the Utah Jazz, that can be the demise of this squad. And I hope it isn't, but yeah, that can be the demise at least for one game that the Grizzlies could steal. So Jazz in 6.
Yeah. And hopefully no demise, but again, shout out to Jordan Clarkson, because if there's one person that's going to keep this team afloat, it's him. His 18 points was tops in the league, especially coming off the bench for the best team in the West. And he's the first Jazz player to win Sixth Man of the Year. So shout out to Jordan Clarkson, and shout out for being Filipino, man, making us proud. Just just play for the Philippines one time, because I bet you if he does play, because quick aside, like the Filipinos have wanted Jordan Clarkson to play for the Philippines for the longest time. He went over to coach the Philippine national team in 2016, or I think 2016, 2017, but he never formally played. But I 100% think that if he goes to the Philippines, plays for the national team, he will destroy Japan, Taiwan, China, whatever other team is in the Asian FIBA area, so that we can finally get to the damn Olympics. Because damn it, man, we've never been there. But just hop on Jordan Clarkson, go to the Philippines, make us proud, be a an ambassador for the game. But anyways, you guys mentioned adjustments and switching over to the Eastern Conference. You guys gotta love what adjustments Coach Budenholzer has done with the Bucks, because right now the Bucks are up 2-0 against the Heat, and this is something I didn't expect. The Heat getting decimated in Game Two, 132-98. In the first half, I think it was like 71-30 or something like that, 70-40, something crazy like that. After I saw that, I was like, nope, I'm checking out. I'm sorry, but so speaking of things that don't really make sense, prior to the playoffs, right? Jimmy Butler was like, okay, I am stupidly locked in. Well, the stupidly locked in Jimmy Butler is averaging 13 and a half points on 25% shooting from the field, 22.2% from three, and 64% from the line. His minus 42 is the lowest on the Heat per StatMuse. So, that being said, thoughts on this series, because I think this is done. This is done, dusted. Shout out to the Bucks. And you know what? I feel bad for all my Heat friends, for my friends that root for the Heat. This is not the series that you guys expected. Victor Oladipo did not pan out because he's not even playing, and this is not the series that we thought it would be. So, thoughts?
Absolute, um, absolutely agree with you, Jared. Personally, I thought this series was going to be much closer. I could have,
Game
before
one
you
was.
asked me, yeah, game one was, but like beforehand, when you asked me, like, oh, I could have saw this going to at least 6 games, but boy, was I wrong. I think this series is done in 5. I think Miami is too proud of an organization to get swept, so I think they're going to squeeze out one. The biggest problem is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, you can't be doing that like in the playoffs, man. It's like you can't be averaging 13 points. That's like
Um,
this. You're the
To be fair, though, we're talking about adjustments. Giannis and PJ Tucker are doing a phenomenal job on Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. But the fact is, like Jimmy, you got to average more than 13 points. Uh, I'm not surprised at the same time this result. The Heat had a very wild ride last year in the playoffs, and they came in. They had the same issues the Lakers had, like rust, tiredness, and Jimmy. Like they were struggling throughout this whole season. So it's not shocking, but I just felt like this series should have been a lot closer. But the Heat are in trouble. I think Jimmy Butler is. I just get a feeling that he's toast for at least this year. So Bucks and 5, Bucks and 5.
All right.
I mean, we still got home games to go. So
Yeah.
let's it might still be close. We never know. I'm not even tripping on the 13 and a half points. I'm tripping on the shooting percentage. 25% from field goal range. 25. Get that right. 25%. 22% from three. 64. Shout out to Nintendo. 64 from free throw. That's horrible. Jimmy Butler, you got to do better than that, man. You got to do better than that. But I will say the Bucks have proved me wrong. I did doubt them. I said that struggle in game one would prove something. Like, why are you struggling with the Heat? But I guess that was them kind of playing the field, seeing what the Heat had, what kind of punch that they have, how many degrees would they bring into the game. Obviously none, because Jimmy Butler, just all the fire is gone. Anyways, keep proving me wrong, Bucks. I'm a Giannis fan. I'm a Greek Freak fan. So let's hope that they can continue to feel this momentum and carry the success throughout the playoffs. That's my thoughts on the series. Oh, Bucks and 4. The Heat are gonna get swept.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Bucks in 4 to 7 games, but you know what? I just wanna delve into your guys' brain really quickly. Then, so if you're Eric Spoelstra, what do you do as a way to change things up moving forward, looking forward to Game Three and Game Four? What do you do moving forward? Because you have this squad that is built to essentially keep up with the Bucks because the Bucks, for all intents and purposes, they haven't gotten too crazy good, right? I mean, Drew Holiday is a difference maker, sure, but they still have the same guys more or less. The Bucks do. So if you're Eric Spoelstra, what do you do? Can you do anything?
Personally, if I'm Eric Spoelstra, like I don't know what I would do. Honestly, it's just like Jimmy Butler. Like first of all, like Jimmy Butler and I would have a sit down and discuss like what's going on between with his performance, and that's about like it. Like uh, lineup was, I'm not sure what can you do. Is it? I think the lineups they got now is the best they can give. So me personally, I would be mystified, and I would just just try to rev up my team to just perform better. That's in my opinion what all they could do right now.
Yeah, Daniels keep hitting the nail on the coffin. That was the same question I was thinking of. What can you do? They can't do much. Who can you rely on? You can't. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero. What
Hasn't played that
everybody.
much. I don't know
We
what's going on with that.
we hyped them up, but it is what it is. Bam Adebayo is not a scoring presence like that. More defense all around. Goran Dragic is probably still nursing that knee injury. Yeah, there's not much they can do. Their squad is depleted. The run was good while it lasted, so I had a complete 360 here from last episode to today. But it is what it is.
It's crazy to think that the Heat said no to a James Harden deal because Duncan Robinson and Tyler friggin' Hero was what the Rockets were asking for, and they're like, no, we're gonna keep Tyler Hero because we got something there. And well, you mean he's averaged less
That's
than 15 minutes in the series and averaged less than 10 points. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's nursing an injury that we just don't know, but oh, that's rough, buddy. But we're talking about rough things. The Nets and Celtics series, it's rough, especially for the Celtics because, game one was kind of close, 104-93, thanks to KD. The Nets pulled away. KD had 32, Kyrie had 29, and James Harden had 21. The Celtics had 22 from Tatum, but they were really missing Jaylen Brown, and game two really solidified that because they got blown out 131-108. KD, Kyrie, and Harden combined for 61 points, with Joe Harris dropping an additional 25. No one played more than 29 minutes for the Nets, and the worrying thing is Jason Tatum only had 9 points before leaving the game after getting poked in the eye. So, is the series over? Just simply put, I think it is. There's nothing the Celtics can do. Evan Fournier, he was a good addition, but he wasn't the addition that they needed.
Facts.
uh bring out the brooms. uh Beantown, your season is over. You are hopelessly outgunned. To kind of quote an MCU movie, The Avengers. Brooklyn has all the offensive firepower here. Jaylen Brown being out really is obviously is going to devastate this team going into the playoffs. Jason Tatum is a good player, dropping 50 points the other day in the play-in. It's like with you're the only guy. He doesn't have help right now. So he's basically literally a one-man army going up against the Brooklyn Big Three. This is gonna be a quick series. It's gonna be in. It's gonna be out. Danny Ainge, Jason Tatum, Boston, the city of Boston, the state of Massachusetts. It's time to focus on next season. Go out there and try to get it big.
So, sticking with the MCU theme here, really quickly, G. So, it reminds me of that scene in Endgame, spoiler alert, when Captain America calls Thor's hammer or whatever, right? And I think it was before or after this, but anyways, the point is, it's like Captain America going up against Thanos, and he's about to face Thanos, but instead of everyone coming out from the circles, it's just him, and he has to face the entire army. That's what I'm thinking Jason Tatum is feeling like, because he has no help. Sorry, Kemba Walker. I mean, you're getting paid like a star, but you're not playing like a star. Hopefully that knee injury or whatever have you that was affecting him throughout the season gets better. But yeah, sorry Celtics, but go ahead, G.
Yeah, just that was a great analogy there. Absolutely. Um, the Celtics have been a disappointment all season long, and that's how they're going to end their season here. Danny Ainge hasn't made the right moves. You see, Evan Fournier can get a big. Kemba Walker is looking like bootleg Kemba Walker right now. So
They
I don't
did
know,
drop
man.
Blake.
Oh, okay. Okay. He comes to the Celtics and forgets how to play basketball. But yeah, it's a sweep.
Damn. Well, I mean, the best thing you can do now is hope for at least one game, so that this, if they get any performance incentives at least regarding the playoffs, let's hope they do. It's kind of weird to me, like asking, like, well, anyways, but yeah, I mean, this is the season, the Celtics season from hell continues, and they should have traded for Miles Turner when they had the chance. Just
Yep.
saying, that's one of those deals that's going to bite them. Looking down in the future, like, man, we should have traded Gordon Hayward to the Pacers for Miles Turner, a big who actually fits our timeline and who would actually make our team better. But instead, we got Evan Fournier. No offense to him, he's a great player in his own right, but just not what they were looking for. But we're talking about series that could be over. What about the 76ers Wizards? I know there's only been one game played, and the Sixers currently have a 1-0 edge because they pulled out 125-118 thanks to Tobias Harris. Yeah, Tobias Harris dropping 37, and B dropping 30, and Simmons having 15 rebounds and 15 assists. Meanwhile, Bradley Beal had 33 points and 10 rebounds, while Russ had 16 points and 14 assists. Is this series over? Because no matter what the Wizards do, they just don't have the firepower. They really don't.
I just have no interest in this series at all. I'm just gonna be
Damn.
upfront with y'all. Sorry Wizards fans. Other than Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, compared to Philadelphia, your team is completely nothing. I think Philadelphia is just simply the better team in the starting five, and Philadelphia just has more depth than you. Also, Doc Rivers is a much better coach than Scott Brooks. Scott Brooks is, in my opinion, he's just a rebuilding coach. He's a coach you just rebuild your teams under. Philly, I could see with Beal and Russ. Look, I'm not going to underestimate their talent. They just don't really have guys around them. Maybe they sneak one game, but I'm going 85% likely. Bring out the brooms. It's Wizards. You're going to get swept like you do each and every year.
Wow.
Hey, you just demolished the whole Wizards fan base, their organization. We ain't gonna have no Wizard fans listening to this podcast. But
Until
you're
next
absolutely
season.
right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think the biggest key thing here is Joel Embiid, bro. And I know Tobias, everybody's gonna feast because Joel Embiid. The Wizards have nobody. That's barbecue chicken. You got Alex Lynn and Davis Bertans, and then who's your
Daniel
backup?
Gafford. He's been a revelation for them. He's been a revelation for them.
Who? We
Okay.
talk about Joel Embiid. We talk about MVP Joel Embiid. We talk about come on. You said Daniel. Who is he stopping? Barbecue chicken. I'm talking about Memorial Day barbecue out in the park. Bring the whole family on. Y'all ain't gotta pay for nothing. Barbecue chicken. He ain't stopping him.
Damn.
Only way the Wizards get a win is if Joel Embiid happens to get injured. Because it just seems like the 76ers just fall apart without him. Like, he is the driving force. Joel Embiid to the Sixers is what Nikola Jokic is to the Denver Nuggets.
The year of the big man, Daniel. You'd love to see it.
Yep.
So it's a sweep. Get the broom.
It's a sweep.
Okay. I'm going to say 5 in favor of the 76ers. Westbrook is too prideful of a player to get swept. But, okay, quick question then. So if Thomas Bryant and Denny Advia weren't lost to season-ending injuries, do you think the Wizards would have had a much better shot of at least making this a 6-game series?
No.
Okay.
Barbecue chicken, bro. Nobody is guarding Joel Embiid. Thomas Bryant is energy. I think he's 6'9". They probably try to give him an extra inch. It's barbecue chicken. It's not. And Avidad, what's his name again?
Denny Advia.
He was a rookie.
That guy, he wasn't doing much. And I know this for a fact because I drafted him in my fantasy league, and he was a bust. So, yeah.
I mean, he did well, all right? He did well enough considering what was going on throughout the season. I mean, it sucks that he snapped his ankle, so hopefully he feels better soon. But, it is what it is. Shout out to the Sixers. Hopefully you guys get that 5-game sweep or whatever. Gentleman sweep. But lastly here, we're talking about really interesting. So, Daniel, you said that the Wizards 76ers is a series that you don't really want to watch. Well, what about the Hawks?
It's bad TV.
All right. What about the Hawks Knicks series then? Because
Great TV.
I was fantastically shocked by how well that game went because I thought it would be like, two kind of young teams just jacking up shots, not knowing what to do, and they're gonna be bad. But it wasn't really bad because Trey Young hit the game-winning floater and gave the Hawks a 107-105 win in game one. Trae Young finished with 31 points and 10 assists. Alec Burks led the way. Alec Burks led the way for the Knicks with 27 points. And it's really interesting because a lot of people were saying, a lot of pundits after the game were saying that Julius Randle needs to adjust to playoff intensity because I think he shot like 5 of 20 or something like that for an abysmal point total across the board. And he wasn't the leader that he was in the regular season, at least game one speaking. So, thoughts on the series? Because again, peek behind the curtain. The game is, I think, about to start as we're recording this, so we won't know what happens in game two. But I think the Knicks will bounce back because that's just how the Knicks are. But yeah, thoughts on the series? I was pleasantly surprised.
I think this series is going to 7 games. These two teams, they're both young teams, and also I think they're evenly matched. The thing is, though, what I think the Hawks are going to win this series in 7, and I think the reason why the Hawks are going to win this series in 7 is because of Trey Young. Trey Young from game one had a monstrous game one. There's also this weird intensity of this series because it's the first playoff appearance in some time from New York. I think Trey Young is going to be. I think he's going to be key. I think he's going to be the MVP of the series in general. It's going to be a close one. I just think Trey Young. Look, I've said before, the NBA is a superstar league, and Trey Young, in my opinion, look, Luka is better than him, but I think Trey Young is a future superstar in this league, and that's why I think Trey Young is what gives the Hawks the edge, despite these two teams being even right now. Trae Young is going to nail for them. I think the Hawks win this thrilling series in 7 games at the Garden.
All right.
I'm just laughing. Like, I'm not laughing at your points. Like, you made great points, but you just threw that Luka in there. I know why you threw it in there because the whole draft and trading them and whatnot. But I just thought that was funny. I think this is an exciting series because we got a villain. We have a bad guy on our hands. I just saw a Bleacher Report alert that Trey Young walked on the court, Madison Square Garden, and got booed. The fans are back. And Trey Young's the bad guy, and his dad is in the stands. They've got videos of him crying because he just hit the game winner. There's so much emotion outside of the basketball realm that's impacting this series. So I think this is going to be great. You got Melo, D Rose. He doesn't change his facial expressions. He has to guard Trey Young. Trey Young is he's thriving in this scenario. So I think it's going to be a good series. Like Daniel said, evenly matched. I can see it going to 7, and the only reason why I'm saying that is because I've been saying everybody's getting swept, aside from like one series going to game 6. So I'm gonna go game 7 with this series because I want it to go there. I want it to be like a close game, and a star is gonna be born. It's gonna be Trey Young, it's gonna be Julius Randle, or it might be a surpriser. It might be D Rose time to shine, and just adding another iconic moment to his already illustrious career. So can't wait to see what happens out of this series.
Yeah, for I hate to say this, but for D Rose's sake, I'm gonna take the Knicks in 7. At some point, the Hawks' inexperience is going to collapse on them. But I'd be happily glad to be wrong. I'd be glad to be wrong if it was the Hawks in 7 instead, because this is a fantastic series. I hate to say that after all the shit that we've talked about the Knicks in the past, the Tom Thibodeau signing, everything that they've done, but this is good basketball. This is really good basketball. It's playoff intensity. It's like the '90s kind of style of basketball that pretty much all of us are used to. The intensity, the last second shot, the I'm gonna get in your face and defend the hell out of you kind of basketball. Not the I'm just
And
gonna
they
pull up
talking
from.
shit.
Yeah, exactly. We needed that. We needed
Yeah.
that. But really quickly though, I'm kind of curious to get your guys' take on this. When I think it was in the first half, after the first half ended between the Knicks and the Hawks, I was seeing a lot of people say that Trey Young should just play his game. He's not Stephen Curry. He will never be Stephen Curry. He's not Damian Lillard. He shouldn't try and shoot logo threes. He should just play as himself. And I just get I want to get your guys' take on that. Do you think that Trae Young should play as himself instead of trying to emulate Steph, instead of trying to emulate Dame, because we looked at how it went in the second half, and it went very well for him.
This is a tricky question, but I'm going to lean towards the people on social media here. I think everyone should be their own selves. It's just a fact of life. It's a rule of life in general. I think when people are their best, when they're in their best form, they're usually acting like who they really are deep down. So in my opinion, yeah, I mean, those people on social media, they have a point. Like Trae Young should just be Trae Young, and he should be focused on being the best Trae Young as he can. I mean, it's good. It's good to learn things from Dame and Steph, but at the end of the day, you're you. You're not them.
Right.
I disagree. Y'all
Ooh.
must not know who Trae Young is. And listen, I bag on Trae Young. Y'all must not know who he is. Like he wasn't doing this in college. Like he didn't come in as a rookie pulling these shots off. Like if you've seen the rookie versus sophomore challenge or USA versus world, like he wasn't throwing those deep shots in the basket. There's a reason why they compare Trae Young to Curry because they're similar in the game. No, he's not Steph Curry, but there's some similarities there. And why is that? Trae Young is younger than both of those players. Trae Young is younger than both of those players that you listed. At least 10 years with Curry and about 8 to 9 with Dame Lillard. So technically, Trae Young's been growing up watching these players. So he's implementing parts of their game into his game. So to sit here and say that that's not him, now you got to be wise about that. You got to feel it. I wouldn't say force those logo shots all the time, but that's a part of his game. He's been doing this ever since he entered into the league. So I'm gonna disagree with Twitter. It's exciting basketball. You like to see the deep threes, but as long as you're winning, as long as you're getting the W's, what does it matter? You get excited when Damian Lillard shoots a logo three. We get excited when Curry shoots a logo three. Shoot, I'm not a Warriors fan, but I still get goosebumps seeing Curry do it. So look, keep playing his game. His game is that he is a 3-point shooter. He is a scorer. He's a facilitator, and occasionally he's going to throw a deep three into the basket.
And sometimes he makes it, sometimes he doesn't, but that's just the name of the game. And big shout out to Julius Randle for winning Most Improved Player, averaging 24, 10, and 6. The baby Lakers they're doing things. I think. Did you guys see that? What was it, like a GQ photo that had Brandon Ingram,
They ain't babies
Lonzo?
no more.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lonzo, Randall, and Clarkson. And they had like a thing where it listed out all their
It wasn't.
accomplishments.
It was Lonzo, or was
No,
it the G?
I don't know.
D'Lo, Ingram, Clarkson, and Randall. That's
Yeah,
the GQ photo you're talking about.
yeah. Lonzo was somewhere else, probably recording rap music, but yeah, it's crazy to see how much those players have grown since they were drafted. I mean, I okay, peek behind the curtain, just full disclosure, I enjoyed watching those kids play with the Lakers. I mean, that's one of the few times I watched the Lakers almost not religiously, but pretty pretty closely, just watching those four guys and Larry Nance kind of grow. Shout out to Marcelo Hortis for his leadership, I guess. But you know, it's great to see those guys moving up in the world, and potentially one of them might win a championship pretty soon. Who knows? But that being said, just a few more quick hitters here before we wrap things up. So we're talking about things that we like to watch. Well, things we like to watch out for is the fact that the WNBA is currently averaging 357,000 viewers across ABC, ESPN, ESPN, and ESPN2 through the first 5 games of the season. That's 74% up from last year and 45% up from 2019. Big strides, big strides. Shout out to the WNBA for getting all that, for just getting the recognition they deserve. That's fantastic news. Fantastic
Yes,
news.
sir.
And here's a few more fantastic news points here. The NBA has formed a new entity called NBA Africa. It will conduct league operations in Africa with investors like Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, Grant Hill, Dikembe Mutombo, and Junior Bridgman per Shams. Now, since we're talking about NBA Africa, I mean, I'd be remiss to remind you guys that J. Cole did play in Africa, but he's now retired. After 3 games, he said, you know what, I'm hanging him up. I'm the GOAT. And I think I saw it on Twitter. I couldn't find the actual point totals he had and all the numbers, but he had 5 points, I think 3 assists, and 5 rebounds in total. So he's living the life, man. He is living the life. But speaking of life, last thing here before we wrap things up, I hate to end on a down note, but I just want to give some prayers out to Jonathan Charks, the Ringer's baseball writer. Fantastic stuff on the Ringer. Even if you're not into baseball, he just writes some really fantastic things. And I sent you guys the link to his to one of his most recent pieces where he talks about getting diagnosed with an extremely rare form of cancer. He's only 33 years old, and he has a 1-year old son and a wife that is just it's a tough situation all around. I remember a few weeks ago we talked about that NBA ref that got diagnosed with cancer, and as someone who's had family members with cancer, it's something that really is, it affects everyone. It's devastating, and for him at 33 to be diagnosed with this extremely rare form of cancer too, all you can do is really prayers up to him, hope for the best, and just keep him, not necessarily keep him in your mind for, your entire day, but just, shoot some prayers out his way. Cause, you know, I don't remember the statistics, but I think his form of cancer, I think like fewer than 30% of people survive. So it's rough, man. But yeah, just, uh, just wanted to end it off there. Any final thoughts from you guys before we wrap things up?
Condolences to his family.
He's not
I will
dead.
never. I mean, well, okay. I, uh,
It's fine. I get the sentiment, but go ahead. Go ahead.
best wishes to his family. No family should ever go through that. I mean, I just, just letting him know that like we're all behind. We're all behind you.
I'm not prayers up. I hope that everything goes well, medication, all of this and all of that. But yeah, so continue to enjoy life, laugh, not laughing at the situation, but just moments like that. But yeah, prayers up to him and his family.
Yeah. And G, perfect segue. Enjoy life, and we'd really enjoy it if you don't forget to subscribe to the Shooting Bricks podcast and leave a review on your platform of choice. It really helps us out. Lastly, make sure to follow us on @podcastbricks on Twitter, @shootingbricks podcast on Instagram, and @the Shooting Bricks podcast on YouTube for all the news and the video of this episode of the Shooting Bricks podcast. And as always, I'm Jarrod Castillo.
I'm Daniel Huynh. I just want to wish Clippers fans good luck in joining me as well.
Playoff basketball is back, baby. Fans are back, baby. And the Shooting Breaks podcast ain't going nowhere. So tune in every week, and we'll see you on social media. Big shout out to everybody that's hopped on that Russell Westbrook reel on Instagram. Check it out. Let's get to 10,000 plays. But you already know who it is. It's your boy, Really Real, Gerrel says.
And we will see you guys on social media and next week.